This page was created to teach Black history. Unfortunately, the American educational system was designed to exclude our real historical account, so we are here to dismantle it. It's time to enlighten those of us who have been kept in the dark. I am a Black man who didn't know enough about my own history, so I began to dig deeper and do my own research. Black history is American history, so I want people of all races and cultures to join together to learn our history as one. Here, I will share all of my findings. Please like, follow, share, and subscribe to Teaching Black History. The story of Walter Lincoln Hawkins. Lincoln Hawkins was born on March 21st, 1911, in Washington, D.C. His father was a lawyer for the U.S. Census Bureau, and his mother was a science teacher in the District of Columbia school system. He had one brother and sister. He was the grandson of a slave and obtained his secondary school education in the segregated school system of the Jim Crow area. When he was young, Hawkins was fascinated with how things worked. It was not unusual for him to take apart one toy and reassemble it, make it another one. He also made spring-driven toy boats to sail in the reflecting pool in front of the Lincoln Memorial. He built a working radio so he could listen to Washington Senators' baseball games. While at Washington's Dunbar High School, Hawkins noticed that his physics teacher drove an expensive new car every year. The teacher, Dr. James Cowan, who had invented a self-starter mechanism to replace automobile hand cranks, received a new car each year as partial payment from the company which had bought the mechanism. Hawkins was tremendously excited to discover that a person could make a living through mechanical tinkering. After graduating from high school, he went to an institute in Troy, New York, where he was one of only 2 Black students at the school. In 1932, he graduated with a BS in chemical engineering. Unable to find a job during the Great Depression, he enrolled in graduate school at Howard University, where in 1934 he earned a master's degree in chemistry. Professor Howard Black, Hawkins' friend and mentor at Howard, informed him of a special scholarship at McGill University in Montreal, Canada. Hawkins enrolled at McGill, earned his doctorate in chemistry in 1938 with a focus in cellulose chemistry. In 1940, Hawkins left McGill to continue his research at Columbia University. Hawkins married his wife, Lillian, in 1938. They remained married until his death in 1992. They had 2 sons. In 1942, Hawkins became the first Black person to join the technical staff at Bell Laboratories. In 1963, he became Bell Lab's supervisor of applied research, and in 1972, the head of his department. His earliest projects at Bell Labs were focused on producing cheap alternatives to rubber that could be made of domestically during World War II. By controlling much of the Pacific theater in World War II, the Japanese had cut off much of America's rubber supply from Southeast Asia. Hawkins contributed to the development of a rubber substitute made from petroleum stock. After the war, Hawkins began work on new and improved insulation for telephone cables. Prior to this work, underground and underwater cables, which were laid over incredibly long distances, were covered with fiber wrapped in heavy, expensive lead sheathing. Scientists believed that new, cheap, lightweight plastics like polyurethane would be a good alternative, but common plastics could undergo chemical reactions that made them brittle and unsuitable for long-term use outdoors. This protective additives were required to stabilize this plastic material. In 1956, Hawkins, in collaboration with Vincent Lanza, invented a plastic coating that could withstand extreme temperatures and last up to 70 years and was less expensive than lead. Upon validation of this technology, telephone lines were installed in rural areas, bringing affordable phone service to thousands of people and reducing the use of lead. In addition to his technical efforts developing the new polymer-based cable sheath, Hawkins gave considerable effort to developing appropriate testing methods to prove the materials would have long lifetimes and minimal plastic waste, and towards communicating the underlying chemistry to non-technical audiences interested in the expansion of telecommunication technologies. In the 1970s, Hawkins shifted his research focus toward minimizing plastic waste. His work in the area of recycling plastics continued after Hawkins was promoted to assistant director of Bell Labs Chemical Research Lab in 1974. The extremely durable nature of the plastic becomes a huge problem when it must be discarded. Hawkins became an expert not only in making plastics last longer, but in recycling these seemingly indestructible products. Over the course of his professional career, Hawkins contributed to 18 U.S. patents, 55 scientific research articles, and 3 books. Hawkins retired from Bell Labs in 1976 after 34 years of contributions and transitioned to working as the director of research of the Plastics Institute of America from 1976 to 1983. Throughout his career, Hawkins was involved in minority advocacy efforts while working at Bell Labs. He helped establish the Bell Laboratories Summer Research Program for minorities and women, which benefited over 1,200 participants at the time of his death. Hawkins also helped establish and run the Bell Laboratories Cooperative Research Fellowship Program, which recruits and support minorities and engineers interested in earning PhDs. After retirement, Hawkins began teaching and encouraging college students to study science and engineering. In 1981, he became the first chairman of Project Seed, support of the educationally and economically disadvantaged. An American Chemical Society program designed to promote science careers for minorities, students. He also served as chairman of the National Academy of Sciences National Research Council Committee on Minorities in Engineering. On August 20th, 1992, Hawkins died in San Marcos, California, due to heart failure. He was 81 years old.